on that note, we will carry on with our stuff then with the news. And there's been quite a lot of contract news coming out this past 9 days, I guess, as we record this.
Mm-hmm.
First one, the biggest one, is Mark Henry out of AEW, joining AEW in 2021 as a broadcaster, coach, and talent scout, but not as a wrestler due to various injuries. Mark Henry has decided to not re-sign with Tony Khan. Here's his reasoning. My contract with AEW is set to expire tomorrow, the 28th, as we record this. It's already done. And today, of course, it's the 27th, so I wanted to address that matter. And Tony Khan said at the press conference that he was very happy and proud of what we did together. I feel the exact same way. I appreciate everything that happened at AEW with Tony Khan and the Khan family. I had a great experience. I do feel like it's time for me to take more time to handle the markhenry.com and the remarkable brand and focus that attention on what my next steps are. I am not going to be renewing my deal, but he also said that this doesn't mean that he's leaving wrestling altogether.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mark Henry then. So what did he really do in AEW? Because I know he did it's time for the main event on Rampage. When you were watching Rampage.
Yep. Oh, he was just an announcer. He wasn't even a commentator. He was like an interview announcer, and he would bring the person in that he was going to interview, and they would talk about a match coming up. And he said, well, it's time. It's time for the main event. And he had a way of saying that was kind of catchy. And then they'd take you to the main event. So, but I never saw him on a certain show. You'd see him maybe, that I recall, you'd see him one time, and that's toward the end of the show when he interviewed the main event. I don't know if he ever drew any money. Big money. I do remember when they put something in his food doing a WWF taping, and everybody knew it except Mark. And my old saying, stay in your lane. I didn't tell him.
Who was it? Who was it and what was it? Just for those who don't know.
I don't know who did it, but it was, I heard, excrement. Not to get really bizarre, but hey, wrestlers are crazy. They are really, really crazy.
You see, I'd end up with a murder rap. If someone put shit in my food and then I ate it, there would be murders. I will promise you that.
Well, he wanted to kill.
That's well, good for him.
That is criminal. That is criminal. It is. I don't know who did it. I can say with clarity, I didn't do it.
Do you know what?
I wouldn't do that to anybody.
No. Do you know a story he told recently as well? Because he was bullied mercilessly when he was first in the WWF. He was on crutches. He fell over while running the ropes while he was training, right?
Yeah.
And that kept him out of the ring for like a year.
Who was this?
Mark Henry.
Okay.
So he was on crutches. He goes to a WWF show, and then somebody steals his crutches. And he was sure it was Shawn Michaels. And to compound the thing, I think this is the same story, is that Shawn was hiding behind Sid at the time. And then he only found out ages afterwards that it was neither of them, it was Paul Bearer.
Mm-hmm. Paul Bearer?
Yeah, Paul Bearer stole them.
Now, that guy didn't pull ribs on anybody.
Oh, he did.
I never heard of it.
Well, with The Undertaker mostly, I believe, but yeah.
So he wasn't hiding behind Undertaker, he was hiding behind Sid?
No, he just didn't even know. He didn't even mention it. He just stole them and threw them away, probably. But there you go.
He didn't get his... Wait a minute. Finish the story. Did he get his crutches back that night?
That I don't know. But he went off, and then he went to Vince McMahon and yelled at Vince and stuff like that. Anyway, just basically, he just did everything at the time in the wrestling business to get yourself the most heat possible. By getting ribbed, complaining about it, threatening the wrong person, going to the boss.
Well,
where do you think Mark Henry ends up then? Do you think he's going to go back to WWE? I mean, really, I know AEW could have done a lot more with Mark Henry. I mean, he could have made him a commentator. They could have made him put him on more than Rampage.
The landscape now in WWE is a lot different than when he left, because there's another company there. TKO. And if they can find us a spot for him, he may fit in. But I don't even know what he would do there. See, just doing one interview a show didn't mean that much. And he was just a accessory. He was just a commentating host for one segment, is all I ever saw. Or he may have done two. But I don't know if they could find a spot for him or if they even want him.
He could maybe, like, if he's an ambassador, like a Kevin Nash or a Lex Luger or something like that.
Well, he has that Olympic experience behind him. The Olympics are coming up. So WWE could possibly find something for him to do this year. And face it, if WWE wants you, they can get you. They can get you something to do. All they're trying to do is, for their accountants and all, they got to put a job description down. What do you do? They just can't say, we're writing him a check for what? And leave it blank. They got to put down something. So with the Olympics, he may fit in.